My hands are never clean. There's always dust in the lines of my skin, grit under my nails. I'm a bricklayer. I build walls for a living. I never knew I was living inside one my own family built for me. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let me know where you're listening from in the comments. My name is Jade. I'm 30 years old. My 5-year-old son, Milo, is my entire world. My job is hard, but it's honest. It pays for his school fees and our tiny room. That room is in the back of my father's estate. They call it the servants' quarters. My stepmother, Valerie, and my stepsister, Serena, live in the big white mansion up the hill. They live in a different universe. My father, Lawrence, is a rich man. Or he was. He's old now and sick. They keep him in the East Wing. He's too frail for visitors, Valerie tells me, blocking the hallway with her body. Your noise and that boy would upset him. She never calls Milo by his name. He's that boy. Once, Milo ran up and called her Grandma. She looked down at him like he was a bug. Don't call me that, she said, her voice like ice. I am not your grandma. I saw his little face crumple. I picked him up and carried him back to our room, my heart a stone in my chest. Serena is worse. She runs my father's company. She wears clothes that cost more than I make in a year. She calls me her stinky charity project. She says I'm a stain on the family's perfect white. She tells me all the time, when I'm done managing the annual gala, you and your little bastard will be out on the street. I believe her. Every day, I brace for it. 2 weeks ago, everything changed. Serena came to my door. She was smiling a sharp, sugar-coated smile. Jade, you simply must come to the company gala this year. It's time you were seen. My stomach dropped. This was a trap. I knew it. But a stupid, weak part of me, the little girl who still wanted her dad, thought, what if? What if this is the moment he sees me? What if they finally accept us? I used a week's pay to buy a simple, plain blue dress. It was the nicest thing I'd owned in years. On the night of the gala, I left Milo with the only kind neighbor I had. I walked up to the main house. The lights were blinding. Women in silk and men in tuxedos laughed, holding sparkling glasses. I felt like a ghost walking among the living. I stood near the back, hoping to be invisible. Serena was holding court on a small stage. She gave a speech about family legacy and business success. Everyone clapped. Then her eyes found me in the crowd. A slow, cruel smile spread on her face. And you know, she said into the microphone, her voice sweet as poison. A great family supports its community. We even bring our charity cases to share our success. The crowd chuckled politely, confused. She pointed a manicured finger right at me. My sister, everyone. Jade. She's our resident bricklayer. Proof that even the best families have a little stain they can't quite wash out. The laughter that followed wasn't polite. It was real. Hot shame burned my cheeks. I wanted the floor to swallow me. This was why they invited me. To finish me in public. My hope turned to ash in my mouth. Then, a man stepped out of the crowd. He was tall, with a calm, powerful presence. The room quieted. I'd never seen him before. He walked past Serena, ignoring her completely, and stopped in front of me. His voice was clear and strong, meant for everyone to hear. That stain is the most honorable person in this room. He looked at me, and his eyes held a strange, deep recognition. Then he turned to the crowd. And the son you've all heard called a bastard is mine. A gasp rippled through the room. Serena's smile vanished, replaced by utter shock. This man, I would learn, was Asher. A self-made real estate king. The man Serena had been bragging about for months, the one she was sure would propose to her tonight. Asher looked back at Serena, his expression cold. I didn't come here for your company, Serena. I came to finally meet the mother of my son. Then, he did the unthinkable. He pulled a simple black folder from inside his jacket. He didn't hand it to my father's lawyer or to Valerie. He placed it in my rough, calloused hands. And I came to give you what's already yours, he said, loud enough for the silent room to hear. I didn't buy your father's company. I just uncovered the truth of who already owns it. With trembling fingers, I opened the folder. The top page was a legal document. My eyes skipped over the small print and landed on the bold lines at the bottom. Shareholder of record, Lawrence Stone. Beneficial owner, 51% controlling interest Jade Stone. The paper blurred. The noise of the room faded. I owned it. My father's company. The source of all their power, their money, their cruelty. It had been mine all along. I looked from the paper to Asher's steady gaze, then up to the stage where Serena stood, pale and trembling, her perfect night in ruins. The trap had been sprung. But I was not the prey caught in it. The morning after the gala, the world was new. The paper in my hands was a key. It unlocked more than a company. It unlocked my father's door. I didn't wait for permission. I walked into the main house at dawn, the legal folder tucked under my arm. Valerie stood at the bottom of the grand staircase in her silk robe, her face a mask of pure hate. "You have no right to be in here," she hissed. I held up the document. "This says I have every right." "Where is my father?" She tried to block the hallway to the east wing. "He's resting." "You can't just move," I said. My voice was quiet. It was the voice I used on a worksite when I needed something done right. It was not a request. She moved. The east wing smelled like medicine and closed windows. I found the room. It was dark. My father, Lawrence, lay in a huge bed, looking small and pale. His eyes were open but cloudy. He didn't recognize me. "Dad?" I whispered, taking his hand. It was cold. "It's Jade." He mumbled something that made no sense. This wasn't frailty. This was something else. A deep, cold anger started in my stomach. I looked at the bottles of pills on his nightstand. Names I didn't know. I called Asher. Within an hour, a private ambulance was at the house. So were two serious-looking men he sent to make sure Valerie and Serena did not interfere. We took my father to the best hospital in the city. The doctors ran tests. Their news was a punch to the gut. "He's been heavily sedated," the lead doctor told me, her face grim. A cocktail of drugs meant to keep him confused and passive. For a long, long time, my stepmother and her daughter hadn't just stolen my future. They were slowly erasing my father's mind to keep their present. As the drugs left his system, my dad came back to me. It was slow. A flicker in his eyes one day. A squeeze of my hand the next. Then, a week after the gala, he looked at me clearly. "Jade," he said, his voice rough with tears. "My girl. I'm so sorry." He told me everything. The will that left me everything. How Valerie switched it with a fake one after his first minor stroke. How Serena took over the company and began to move money, telling him it was too stressful for him to manage. How their family doctor, paid off, prescribed the pills that made him a prisoner in his own body. "I wanted to find you," he cried. But the words, they wouldn't come out right. Now, I had the truth. And I had the legal power. I walked into Stone Global for the first time. I didn't wear a suit. I wore clean work pants and a simple shirt. The employees stared. I called a meeting with Serena. I didn't fire her. Not yet. I moved her out of the corner office with the city view. I put her in a small, windowless room in the basement, next to the supply closet. "You can manage the archived paper files," I told her. "Since you're so good at handling documents." The rage in her eyes was a living thing. But she was powerless. With my father's blessing and Asher's help, I started a forensic audit. Accountants went through every transaction, every account, for the past 10 years. The story they found was ugly. Money meant for my father's care had bought Valerie's jewelry. Company profits paid for Serena's vacations. Millions were missing. I let them sweat. I let them see the auditors every day. I wanted them scared. My son, Milo, finally met his grandfather. The sight of them together, Lawrence telling Milo a slow, careful story, healed a crack in my soul I thought was broken forever. Asher was there too, watching Milo with a quiet awe, learning how to be a dad. One afternoon, Asher pulled me aside. "They're desperate. They'll try to run. We need to catch them in the act." So, we set a trap. We let a false piece of information slip to Serena's assistant, a memo saying the audit would freeze all major accounts at the end of the week. The last chance to move large sums would be Thursday night. We watched. We had their home and office computers monitored. On Thursday, just past midnight, the digital alert came. A transfer request. From my father's private retirement account, the one Serena controlled as his guardian. The destination was a bank in the Cayman Islands. The amount was $9 million. It was the final, greedy grab. The proof we needed. The next morning, I walked into the basement office. Serena was there, bags under her eyes, looking at her computer screen with a frantic hope. Looking for a confirmation? I asked softly. She jumped. Her face went white. Get out of my office. It's not your office. And the transfer failed, I said, placing a printed copy of the transaction attempt on her desk. The account was frozen yesterday. By me. Her breath came in short, sharp gasps. She was cornered. You're finished, Serena, I said. You and your mother. The police have all the records. The audit, the fake will, the drugs, this. I tapped the paper. This is attempted grand larceny. Panic turned her eyes wild. She lunged for her phone. But it was too late. The door to the office opened again. It wasn't a coworker. It was two police officers. And they were looking right at her. The sound of the handcuffs clicking shut on Serena's wrists was the end of an old life. Valerie was arrested at the mansion an hour later, screaming about lawyers. Their beautiful, cruel world of silk and lies was over. The legal machine moved. With the evidence, the fake will, the doctor's testimony, the financial records, the case was solid. Valerie and Serena pleaded guilty to avoid a longer trial. They were sentenced for fraud, theft, and the abuse of my father. The judge called their actions a profound betrayal. They were led away to prison in plain clothes, their wealth and status gone. My father came home from the hospital. He was weak, but his mind was clear. We did not move back into the cold, echoing mansion. I sold it. With the money, I bought a smaller, sun-filled house with a big yard. My father had his own suite on the first floor. He could hear Milo laughing from his window. I took my place as the real owner of Stone Global. But I didn't want the company to be the same. I remembered what it was like to have nothing. I remembered the other workers on my construction crews, struggling to feed their kids. So, I changed things. I started a foundation called Lawrence's Legacy. It funds trade school scholarships for single parents. We built a chain of clean, safe daycare centers for employees' children right near the work sites. The business grew stronger, not from fear, but from loyalty. One evening, Asher came to see me. Milo was already asleep. We sat on the porch in the quiet. I need to explain my part, he said, his voice serious. He told me about our past. We were young, in love. He went overseas for a critical business deal. He wrote me letters. Many letters. I never got them. Now I knew why. Valerie had taken them from the mailbox. He came back to find me gone, my family telling him I wanted nothing to do with him. He spent years searching, building his own company, never marrying. Finding he wasn't about the money or the company, he said, looking at me with an honesty that shook me. It was about finishing a story that was never supposed to end. I admire the woman you became without anyone's help. I love our son. And I would be honored if you'd let me try to love you too. He didn't have a ring. He had a simple question. Jade, will you let me stay? I looked at this strong man who saw the worth in my calloused hands. I thought of the lonely years, the harsh words, the cold room in the back. Then I looked at the warm light in my father's window, and I listened to the peaceful silence. Yes, I said. You can stay. We married quietly in our backyard. Milo held the rings. My father cried happy tears. The final piece of revenge was not a storm. It was a quiet garden where something good grew. Valerie and Serena's prison was made of concrete and bars. Mine had been made of their words and rules. I tore mine down and built a home. They would look out from behind their bars and know that their cruelty was the reason I found the strength. They tried to bury me, but they didn't know I was a seed. So here is my advice. Learn from dust and mortar and a mother's love. The people who push you down are standing on your shoulders to reach what they want. Don't spend your life carrying them. Stand up. You are not their floor. You are the foundation of your own future. And what you build for yourself will always be stronger than anything they try to take. If this story showed you that humble beginnings can lead to powerful endings, please hit the like button and subscribe. Your support helps us share more tales where the last laugh is the sweetest, and the greatest revenge is a life well lived.